All right, guys. It looks like we're officially live. So cut out all the bad things you were about to say. We got to get positive right now. We got a little bit of a little bit of an audience here. So welcome back, guys, to the Agent Investor Podcast. This is going to be a completely different type of episode than I've ever done before. Typically, we have one guest. We're talking about their stories. We're talking about tactics and strategies and even in the Agent Investor Facebook group, which if you guys are not a part of, make sure you go to www.agentinvestor.com to make sure you're a part of the group. We do training every week on, how to do things, how to do deals, how to make money, how to put deals together and, be successful as an investor. But we don't oftentimes highlight, the reality of it. And I know for me, before I ever did my first deal, no matter what training session I was on, no matter what, room I was in or who I talked to, there was like a little bit of a lack of belief that this kind of stuff happened. So I have two guys that have been with me at my brokerage for 4 or 5 years that actually just did two deals together. And I'm going to focus on letting them tell the story, but it's kind of funny because they actually wholesale deals to each other. Both for different reasons and to really further their own personal investing needs. But we're going to talk about that today and why they sold them to each other. And I had it as a highlight for today, the deal of a lifetime. And it's funny because I think probably more for Tyler than for Jason, this was probably his best deal ever. And probably I think that he beat my all-time wholesaling record, which, got to give him a lot of kudos there. So before we jump into the specific deal, I'm going to go top to bottom. Tyler, you're at the top. Jay, you're at the bottom. Can you guys just give like a really brief background about, when you started with the company, why you started with the company, and when you started investing? Tyler, if you can just go first.
Yeah, so I started, I got my real estate license in 2016. I was 19 years old and I had, so from 2016 to 2017, I wasn't at Cameron. I was at a mom and pop brokerage. And I realized, and I had all of the hustle that you could need to be successful. I was just young. I was naive. I didn't know what I was doing. I was nervous and I was scared, but that fueled me to kind of, be who I am today. So after a year, I started poking around. Tom is probably in everyone's emails, so I was getting those too then. And I tried to wholesale a deal to Tom. And then it ended up turning into a conversation. And I figured out that Cameron and the brokerage that he offered gave all the tools that I ever wanted. And I didn't have to come out of pocket to do so. So I joined. I still think I'm the only one that joined without being recruited, but I knew I
Yeah,
needed
well,
to be here.
hold on. I think everybody that I've recruited has come the same way, which is like a conversation, because I don't do a lot of calling on people just to call on them. But when I see somebody that actually would definitely make more money here because of the systems that we have, it's kind of like a no-brainer. And even though I make money when people come, it's like, I want other people to make money too. So how old were you when you joined, and then how old are you now?
I was 20 years old when I joined Cameron, turning 21, and I'm 26 now.
Awesome. And you've done a lot. And for those that want to learn specifically about what Tyler's done, I don't want to make this all about him because he's already been on the podcast last month, and we definitely don't need his ego to get any bigger. And we're going to talk about this huge deal that he just did. So if you want to learn more about Tyler, you can go on one of our podcast episodes that we shot maybe a month ago. All right. And Jay, can you kind of do the same thing? How you came to the brokerage and found out about us and, what you're working on and things like that.
Sure. So I originally got licensed many years ago, 2001. and was at many different brokerages. I was at Keller Williams when I was on a small team, and the whole team was making a move, and we came in, met with the recruiter at the time. I didn't even know you. So I got basically recruited from my team at Keller Williams. That was around 2017. I was 39, 40, and I'm 45 today. So I've been with the brokerage, about 5 years?
Yep. Yeah, you just sent me a picture from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Last night, right?
Yep. And it was like, where's the time go? Time flies, right?
Yeah, it's weird because like in some ways it feels like 20 years ago, and then some ways it feels like it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So both of you guys, I mean, Tyler, you probably came in more specifically to be an investor, but you did a lot of stuff on the agent side once you got involved. And Jay, you came in more, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but more as an agent that does some investing. And then you kind of went more towards the investing side kind of as time went on. And both of these guys have had phenomenal success. Again, both as agents, both as investors. The title of my email that I sent out to everybody was the definition of an agent investor, because that's really what both of these guys are. They use both tools. They do both things. I don't even know which of the two they would consider themselves. I mean, I would consider them both agent investors. I wouldn't really consider them one or the other, because they're both capping agents. They make, well over six figures as an agent. And then they've got rental properties, they flip homes, etc. And, one of the things that we teach on, and both of these guys have been on a bunch of my seller appointments. So our company spends a bunch of money on marketing. We generate seller appointments, and we obviously need people to go out, meet with the sellers, negotiate on our behalf, and try to buy homes. And both of these guys were very, very good at that. At some point along the way, they both decided, hey, if I can, close these deals on my own, I should probably start generating these leads. And the story we're going to tell today is how they've worked on, two deals together within the last month, and both made, a bunch of money doing so, well over six figures doing it. But all along that line, they say they've both been here for about 5 years. They've both done an accumulation of rentals. They've both done flipping, and they've both been an agent, which is really, in my opinion, all of the agent investor concepts kind of put together. But I do want to fast forward to this specific deal, because I want to highlight this specific deal just so people can see kind of how things come together. And correct me if I'm wrong, but both of you did this deal with no money, right? Both of you assigned or wholesaled the deal and never put up any of your own money, correct?
$500.
500 for you. And what about you, Jay?
Marketing expenses, and I forget what the deposit was. Tyler might know, maybe 1,000.
Yeah, but I mean, you can count marketing expenses, and you probably should, but you didn't have to come up with like 50 grand to buy this house.
No,
right?
not at all. Not at all.
Okay. And I always stop at the no money down part, and we're going to talk about exactly how you guys did it. And anybody who has questions, please type them into the chat section. I am following along as we're having this conversation, but I always pause when there's a no money down type of thing. It's not that every deal that I do or Tyler does or Jay does involve no money, but we do a lot of deals with no money. And these are two examples that they've done together of deals where they put up Tyler 500, Jay maybe 1,000 just for the deposit to bind the contract. And then they turned around and sold it to each other for well over six figures. So what deal happened first? It was the deal, Jay, that you sold to Tyler, right?
Yeah. So, and if I can just add, I really think like this is like a true win-win for where we're at, for Tyler and for, and my partner and Mike and I. So the first deal, it's a 3-family located in Lynn. And we were in the process of doing that. We've located the seller through a mailer. First appointment, we went out and we signed it up. There was a lot of challenges over there, as now Tyler is in the deal, so he's cleaning it up. And we basically, in the process of that deal, Tyler had touch base with us about what he had, and we kind of made an agreement to like, this makes sense, let's work together. And we basically, we actually assigned each other the deal.
Well, let's back up for a second. So
Yep.
in terms of like generating the opportunity, you went on a face-to-face seller appointment. What was it, a mailer? Was it PPC? Was it a cold call, text? Like, how did you actually get that seller appointment for that 3-family in Lynn, Massachusetts?
It was the simplest mailer. It was a very simple mailer that said, we'll buy your house as is, no commissions. Very simple. He called us, you know, quite frankly, I mean, you do a lot of mailing. I don't know if he, you know, Mike, my partner, his name on the mailer, I don't know if he thought it was us. He got a bunch of mail, he called. And it's just like we were talking the other day, it's just about timing and who they call on that mailer. So called us.
We talked about this before we even jumped on, which is that a lot of people will say, well, you know, how can I compete with this person or that person? And what you're saying, which is totally true, is like, they may have had my mailer. I think you said they even did, or maybe you thought that they did.
They brought a bunch of mailers to the closing, and I did see, yeah, they had ours, yours, and maybe another one.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to this because I didn't look into this, but I don't know if they called me. I don't know if they didn't call me. I don't know if we went on the appointment or I could find this out, but he may not have even called, right? So it's not even just like compete. There's so many parts of the competing with somebody. It's like, when do they get the mailer? Are they ready at that particular moment? Maybe they get your mailer and they like how yours looks better, or they like your name better. Maybe they got your mailer on a specific day that they were ready to take action. Maybe they called me first and I didn't pick up, and then they called you. Maybe we met with them and didn't get back to them on time. So there's so many things that can kind of go on in a deal like this. So
I can tell you that we were the first appointment, because anyone who went on this appointment would have got this deal.
Well, yeah, but even within that specific part of the mechanism, we may have booked let's just say I got the lead. Let's just say we booked the appointment. We may not have had anybody available that day. Maybe you got out there faster. So so obviously this isn't like necessarily a how do you convert investment leads conversation fully, but so you went out on the appointment, and how did the appointment go?
It was really just rapport and discovering the challenges and what was going on there. And, you know, he was just an older guy that was over his head. He had multiple different things happening that were beyond his control that he couldn't handle. And tenants, mortgage type things. And we just brought a solution that made sense for him to make it really easy for him. It was about, let me get out of this situation and, you know, get on with my life. And that was basically it. We offered the right solution for him, and then we ultimately got it done.
So as you signed that contract, did you already know that you wanted to assign or wholesale it? Because this is a 3-family in a city outside of Greater Boston, you know, maybe 10 miles north of Greater Boston, has a ton of multifamilies, a good rental market. So you had multiple things you could have done with it. You could have bought and hold it yourself. You could have assigned it to somebody. You could have bought it to flip. Did you know what your exit strategy was going to be when you signed it, or did you just sign it and then kind of think about it later?
What we knew is that we would have multiple options based on the numbers. And we didn't know exactly what we were going to do, but we knew we could assign it. We knew we could wholesale it. We knew we could keep, we knew this could be a good rental property. This property could fit a lot of the investment options.
And that's another thing that, like, you know, is common. I mean, not everything falls into that category, but essentially when you get a property, you know, below fair market value, that's a deal. It's like you can do more than just one thing with it. There's a lot of different things sometimes that you can do. So you knew it was a deal. You knew you can make, I mean, we always talk about this, right? We say the phrase like, I knew I could make money on it. And that's the thing we always say. We're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I know I can make money on it somehow. So you had it locked up. Again, you gave them $1,000 deposit at our 2-day event. A month ago, we had a lot of agents who have never done an investment deal, like ask about that. Like, how do you get a deal locked up for 1,000, and Tyler's deal you got locked up for 500? So
It was my deal was 100 each
Oh,
on 5 properties.
oh my God, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably could have gave 50, but it would have seemed ridiculous.
I could have given $1.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's obviously kind of like a reasonableness to this that, we're not trying to go out there. I mean, we want to bind them without tying up any of our cash, if we can. So you walked to the office or whatever, Jay, you knew you had a deal on your hands. You had multiple things that you could do with it. How did Tyler get involved?
So yeah, I had skipped ahead a little bit. So my partner and I were, just getting ready to close as usual. We were going to plan on closing on this deal. That after a while, we figured, oh, hey, we'll close on the deal, but also we would look at, hey, if we can assign it for a certain amount, it might make sense to just do that. But so we were getting ready to close on the deal. And then at some point, I believe Tyler got in touch with us about this portfolio. And we got to talking and be like, well, we got this one, you got that one. And it ended up, there was some work involved here, but it ended up being like, all right, here's the deal. We got a really great deal. Let's work together, and this one might make sense for you and what he had, because the thing was we were doing a 1031 exchange, and we needed to buy a certain type of portfolio from where we were exchanging from. By the way, this all started, and this is a little bit outside of what we're talking about, but this all started with a single family flip we did in Lynn that went to a 9-unit building in Salem. Then we sold that. Now we had a 1031, and this is the 1031 we went into with Tyler, which is a portfolio here in the North Shore.
I think that's extremely relevant, because you marketed for a flip. Like, you didn't market to a single family in Lynn to buy and hold it, but you ended up turning that deal into a 1031. And then, so how many units do you have now? How many did that one original unit turn into through the two 1031s that you did?
Yeah, so it went from one unit rental to a 9-unit rental to a 16-unit portfolio rental.
In how long of a time period?
Not that long.
Okay.
That long. 2019 was the first one.
And this is where, again, going back to the event that we had a couple weeks ago, I was talking about how long-term passive income stuff isn't linear. And this is a perfect freaking example, because literally you started with one unit that you could have flipped, you turning into 9. You got 9, you turning into 16. You could hold the 16, and I'm not saying you're gonna do this, but you could hold the 16 for a few years and then turn that into 50, right?
Absolutely. And we actually have plans with this. I don't know if we want to get into that, but yeah, we are going to expand the amount of units from this. We're just going to keep expanding, of course.
So again, because we're going fast and we're jumping around because, we know each other and things like that. But so Tyler, now your deal, because again, they basically traded wholesale deals. So Jay got a 3-family. Tyler got, you said it was 5 properties, 16 units, right, Tyler?
Yes.
Okay, so 5 units, 16. Now, why didn't you want the 5 properties, 16 units, and why did you guys trade?
I wanted the 16 units.
Okay.
That wasn't out of the question. And I think I strung Mike and Jason along a little bit, and it came down to the wire of their 1031. We ended up coming into an agreement, I think, when you guys had 3 days left on the 1031.
That's great. That's great, since you guys have both worked there for 5 years and you're friends, that you guys, brought it down to the very last minute. It's amazing though, right? Obviously, no matter what, everyone has to do what's in their best interest, but it's like, it's so crazy because like even when you're negotiating with people, it's like the same thing still.
And
So-
I really like Tyler, but when you're in business, you're like, sometimes you're like, I hope this doesn't like, change anything with the relationship. And I think I've been able to help Tyler over the years with some of the strategies and going back to like you said, hey, you decided to do this yourself because you were going on appointments. I tell the story quite a bit. We were at an event one time and you said to me, you should do it. You said you should do this because you know that you can go out on these appointments and close them. When I started doing this myself, I did not know I could do that. And it took me 1 year to actually start marketing. And but it's just amazing how this all came together.
So
Yeah.
Chris Martinez asked a question, and guys, just so you know, we're live. You can ask questions. I like when people ask questions because sometimes we go fast. They asked, how do you lock the customer during the appointment? Talking about how you make them feel comfortable, knowing you'll be able to sell the property for more than whatever they are agreeing to today. I mean, I can answer that one. I mean, I think the answer with Jay was like, he was going to close on it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of go about doing this stuff. And that would be almost like a whole class in and of itself. But I can tell you that like, when I go into an appointment or I send somebody on an appointment for me, I'm prepared to close in all cases, because I am not, and different people have different thoughts about this, but I don't like to put a property under contract where I'm like, oh, maybe I can assign or wholesale it to somebody else. A lot of people do that, but I go into it like Jay went into that deal, that 3-family in Lynn, that he was going to close it. And he just happened to end up wholesaling it in the end. In terms of making the seller comfortable, I think if you know that you're going to close on it, you're in good shape. But for people that are in the inner circle, one way that you can get that comfort is if you're in the inner circle, we will give you the offer that we would make. And if you go out there and you get that property under contract for the amount that we would pay, you know that we're going to close on it. So I think that question kind of stems from somebody that may not be able to close on a property. Maybe they don't have the capital. If you're in the inner circle, and Chris, I think you're at Cameron. Your name sounds really familiar. I'm pretty sure you're at our brokerage, so you're automatically in the inner circle. If you go out to a property, you can feel very comfortable because we're going to give you our number. And if you want, you can do whatever you want with it. If it's your lead, you can assign it to us, or you can close on it yourself, or you can assign it to somebody else. This is something that it's a strategy that a lot of people use. But getting back to like the trade portion. So Tyler, you were thinking maybe you were going to do Haverhill. So what made you want to say, okay, I got these 16 units, Jay's got these 3 units. Like, I do want to do the trade pretty much.
So the weird thing is, if people know me, people know like once I get a deal signed, I'm like texting everyone. So I'm like, I get so excited and I'll text people. And it just so happened that Mike Weatherby was just on a podcast. So with Kyle Curtin. So I was just thinking about, I was thinking about Mike because we were texting and I was just telling him, oh, that podcast was awesome. And I just shared because I just signed up the deal that I just got 16 units. And at the time, I think I said Lowell I don't know why, but said Lowell.
I know why. 100%. Jay, do you know why?
Because Mike loves Lowell.
Nope, that's definitely not why. 100% not why. Because Tyler thinks that people are out to get him.
Deals. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he had the contract lined up. Yeah, I know for a fact. Yeah.
Tom, you are completely correct.
Yeah.
But also the other thing is Mike just bought whatever in Lowell, a big unit. So I kind of wanted to compare them.
Yeah,
But
but
I
that was like way down the totem pole.
yeah, no, Tom, you're dead on. But so I reached out to Mike and I told him about it, and he was just like it almost like he not went into a panic, but he was like, we have this 1031 exchange and it would be perfect. Like he really wanted to put the deal together. And I didn't really think about wholesaling it. To be honest, I really wanted to buy it. And they were doing the 1031 exchange. And then they said, we just signed something in Lynn. So that piqued my interest because I like Lynn more than Haverhill.
Mhm.
And I was nervous about taking on 16 tenants because this was being sold occupied.
Mhm.
So the Lynn house was being sold vacant, but it ended up being occupied. But I was also contemplating, do I want to take my first tenant experience on 16 units with tenants that I don't even know? And I was more scared about taking on a deal where there's so many tenants in place where this would be my first, big buy and hold. So I was thinking in my head, I'll start with a three family. I'll start with a three family in Lynn, and I'll try, to expand my number of units in dealing with tenants. Because I was scared to take on 16. And I know Mike and Jason, they have probably over 60 units combined. So dealing with tenants and property managers and all of that, I'm sure is not an issue to them, but it was a big fear for me. It was a huge fear, was to take on 16 tenants.
And there's a couple of, I think, key things here. And one of the things that when I first started investing, Jay, you're in Kent Clothier's program, and I heard Kent Clothier speak probably like 2012, 2013. And one thing he said was, I'm never afraid to share, my, details of my business with a competitor, because if they're doing less than what I'm doing, by the time that they implement what I'm doing, I'm going to be doing something different. Like, meaning like I'm going to be another level up, doing something a little bit tiny bit different. And this is a pretty good example of that, where you're, 1, 2, 3 years ahead of Tyler with the rentals. And let's just say that both of you decided not to share the information with each other, even though Tyler kind of like didn't fully share it, but you shared it anyways. The deal probably wouldn't have happened, and Tyler would probably be realistically a little bit over his head right now. And Jay, you probably wouldn't even have held on to that three family. You couldn't have 1031 into that deal. So, obviously this is, a good example where sharing information, can really work out. Then the other thing that I wanted to kind of like, point out in general is people always think, oh, well, I'm in contact with a wholesaler, I'm in contact with somebody, I have an agent relationship. They'll reach out to me if they have a deal. And that sounds all well and good, but you've got to stay top of mind with people. Because, like, for example, I didn't know about either of these deals until they were basically done. So you guys both know me very well. You guys both talk to me almost every day. I never knew about these deals. Like, I didn't get an opportunity to buy these deals because I wasn't out there saying, hey, do you guys have anything? Do you guys have anything? So if you're trying to work with wholesalers or try to get deals, you always have to be out there, like, saying that you want people to bring you stuff. Because if you don't, a lot of times what happens is this, where like two people are just talking and they put a deal together, and then you kind of get left out. And I'm not saying I got left out, because I wouldn't have even bought either of those deals. But like, you guys could have brought either one of those deals to 10 other people, but you didn't. And it kind of worked out like in a happenstance way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So next I want to talk a little bit about profits. So I don't know if you guys feel comfortable talking profits. We can talk in code the way Tyler does, or we can just kind of talk in like six figures.
Why don't we talk in combined here?
Okay, I like that.
And
So-
we'll just say Tyler made more money on the wholesale.
Well, actually, I have a better way to explain it, right? Tyler, because of how much money he made, is in Miami right now. If you guys look at his background, can you show your background for a second?
I don't know if it'll go to my,
Oh no,
Did
we
you,
can see. We can
it's still
see
on
that
your
is.
screen though. You're
did you
still,
buy a Corvette, Tyler?
I was going to.
So Tyler
Oh,
did so
I'm
well.
kidding. I wasn't gonna do anything stupid.
So Tyler did so well on the deal that he's actually taking some time off, a few days off, and he's in Miami. And as you guys can see, he's pretty high up. Now Jay did a little bit worse. Now, Jay, can you just show your background?
I'm in my office in Wakefield, but I'm thinking about Aruba. And by the way, Mike is in a so
That's my point though. So you're thinking about going on vacation and Tyler's on vacation with the amount of money that he made.
No, this is 2 days. This was an impulse.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. You're celebrating your success. So they wholesale deals to each other. So what was the combined profit, Jay?
I think it was pretty close to $500,000.
$500,000. Okay. Now I always say this because you know, when people come on these, obviously I'm not going to bring these guys on if they did a deal together and they made a combination of $8,000, right? I don't care how much I like them. They're not coming on the show for an $8,000 combined profit. So this was a much better than average deal. But again, it's $500,000 for 2 deals between 2 people that know each other, that are in our brokerage, in the inner circle, just really because of the fact that they've implemented these agent investor strategies. And I talked about this at length at the event the other day, which is like $500,000. That's like 2 or 3 years worth of sales for most people, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years worth of sales for most people. And it happened in 1 or 2 deals. And again,
Tom, keep in mind that this is just the wholesale fee.
Oh, yes. I know. I left that out. So go ahead, make that point.
So this is just the wholesale fee. There's huge equity in both of these deals for Tyler and us. And I mean, going in there, the projection is probably at least another $500,000.
So
I would say like not even at least. Like at least is an understatement. There's definitely
being conservative.
So, but let's just think about this. And there's another component to this. So these 2 deals raised the net worth of both of you by a total of $1 million, right? But we haven't even counted for the fact, what is this going to turn into down the road?
Right.
So,
and we haven't about tax benefits and everything else. It's just really mind blowing.
So again, this is the difference between like being an agent investor and being like some person that just buys off the MLS. Because had you bought off the MLS, you would have paid full market value. You'd have no built up equity in these properties, no assignment or wholesale fees. And again, whether you buy on the MLS or you don't, you're going to get the other benefits of the, appreciation over time, the cash flow and et cetera. But if you're buying at a discount, your cash flow is going to be bigger. If you're buying at a discount, the other huge thing that this thing does is like in 2 years, if Tyler goes, you know what, I want to pull equity out of this property in Lynn and use it as a down payment for another property, it just cascades. And the same thing, Jay, you already did this. You took a single family to a 9-family to 16 units. And did you say you already have plans to turning into more units, or are you just thinking about it?
We have plans. So this particular portfolio had 2 smaller pieces to it. So we're already out there right now working, and we're planning on dispositioning those pretty soon. And we have a special type of a loan where we can sell off pieces of this portfolio, and there's different equity on each of them. So we're going to be able to take the first one and probably turn that into about another 6 units. And then the other one, based on the cost basis, we'll turn that into maybe another 3. And then the other 2 6 units, we can turn that probably into 16 units.
Yeah, and it's just like the multiplier effect. And in your case, again, it started with one unit. In Tyler's case, it's starting with this 3-family. Well, I mean, he's got the other rentals too, but it's just crazy. It really is crazy. And it makes it extra, not random, but just, impressive that you guys both work together, you put the deal together, you creating a win-win for both of you. And I'm sure you're both thinking about what your next deals are going to be. So it's just phenomenal. Like the amount of, net worth that can kind of be gained through this stuff. Like how do you increase your net worth $1 million as just an agent? I mean,
You sell $1 million houses.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot more. It's basically, it's possible, but it's a lot more bandwidth and time and active time that it would take. This is just a shortcut. And it's really doing a lot of the same activities that if you did that. So it makes so much sense. And it's just changing the mindset just a little bit. It's not even that far off from what an agent does every day. And if they were only an agent.
yeah. And this is also, just a testament to like, off-market selling and off-market deals. And no matter how much time I spend calling the multiple listing service, the multiple losing service, I get at least one message or email a day for somebody trying to tell me about a great deal on the MLS. And people get mad at me because as soon as I look it up, because I get mad when somebody sends me a deal on the MLS, and they never tell me it's on the MLS. They send it to me. They're like, hey, look at this deal. And I Google it and I'm like, as soon as I see it's on the MLS, I literally get angry. And then I write back to them. I'm like, I never buy anything on the MLS. And then they try to sell me on how good of a deal it is. And I'm like, nope, never. And I'll probably lose a couple deals here and there because of that mentality. But like, I won't even entertain it because it's like a needle in a haystack compared to this stuff. Now, there's one other big thing that we talked about before you guys came on that's really important. Tyler, you made a bunch of money on this Haverhill deal. You had mentioned earlier that you think that this lead was in other people's databases. So why did you think that? And, how did you get the deal and somebody else didn't?
Well, it was in Jason's. I know that probably it was in yours, and there was another agent in the company, which is weird because it's like not many people outside of Cameron that are doing this, I guess. But there was 3 agents in the company that had some sort of connection with this guy. And I will say, he's in the other room, but David Tran, who we're in Miami with, he's the one who made the initial call. So David is a young agent. He's right
Oh,
there.
hold on. For those of you who are listening, who would want, because David's what? Is he 20 or 21?
David's 20 years old.
All right, so he made this call. Do me a favor. If you want us to bring David on for 5 minutes and just talk about like, he was the one who initially made the call. If you guys want to hear his story, how a 20-year-old got this deal started, type yes into the comment section. If we get a few yeses, geez.
It's too late.
It's too late. He's already on. Forget it. All right, he's already on. All right, so Mr. David Tran, welcome to Agent Investor. So we're going to restate this. How old are you?
20.
All right, 20 years old. So I'm sure that there are people listening to this that are going to say, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, I'm too that. I'm sorry, but if a 20-year-old can put a deal like this together, I don't know what other kind of excuse somebody can come up with. So you were the initial caller, right? That actually reached out to this lead.
Yep.
So did Tyler tell you to call the person? Like, how did that part like happen?
Not exactly. So he was a lead in my CRM, and I just cold call. I just kind of dial, and then I initially called him about his single family home, and then he was not interested. And I just kept following up with them, just kind of checking in everything. And then timing is everything, because I think after like the 3rd call, one of his 6 families burnt down. Not all the way, but it basically, one of the units just huge fire. And then he started considering about selling that one. So I tried to set the appointment. I wasn't able to. He was kind of a hard guy to get in touch with, but I was consistent enough where I was able to set an appointment at that property.
So I'm gonna stop you there because
Yep.
again, this is another huge thing, right? Like I don't know how Tyler knows if this was or wasn't in my database. Jason, you verified it was in your database, right?
In April 2nd, 2021.
Okay. So here's the thing, right? Like everybody talks about this is true regardless of what leads you're working, but everyone says, oh, there's so much competition, this, that. But a lot of times we don't even call the leads the amount of times that we need to. So how many times do you think you call this person to get the original appointment?
Like 4 to 6.
Okay. And I want to stop you there because I'm in a group nationwide with some of the top investors in the country. We pay to be in the group. And this is the difference that, like, if you're newer to the business or you don't have a huge marketing budget, what you'll have over somebody like me is time. So I can almost guarantee if that was in my database, I probably made 1 or 2 calls. Jay, do you know how many calls you made?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you made, and this is the funny thing, you made enough calls, but it didn't result in whatever it resulted in. And the crazy part about it is if David didn't make that many calls, who knows what would have happened? Like we don't know there's so many different outcomes here.
It's timing, like Jason said earlier. Just
Yeah.
right.
So, all right, David, I sorry to cut you off, but go ahead, continue.
David's the star. Oh man.
I didn't even know he was going to come on. I mean, he looks great. I mean, out of the 4 of us, he's clearly. I should have just had him on.
Yeah. So we finally set the appointment. We get there, and then he talks about. So this guy owns a bunch of properties. He actually owns like half the street. So Tyler was with me. We found that out, but at that point, he wasn't really committing to selling anything yet. So I kept following up about about a specific street.
Mhm.
And he started mentioning some other properties in his portfolio that he was considering selling. And then I had to just kept on calling to get those appointments. And then after a while, those appointments were set. We got an opportunity to take a look at those properties. And then a few calls later, we meet at his house and then we close.
So again, when you originally went out to that first appointment, you knew he had other properties, but he was only considering selling one, or he had already agreed that he might sell more.
No, so he was considering selling it, but he wasn't really on board with anything yet. At this point, I just wanted to meet this person because I knew that there was a potential. So I was all for it.
Okay. And did you go on the original appointment? Did Tyler go with you? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, the first one, Tyler was with me.
And then who got assigned?
I think we both did, right? Yeah, we both did. It took a couple of tries though. We initially signed up 2 6 families, and then that didn't end up going through. And then he just added more properties to it. So it's not a bad thing, I guess.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. First of all, you're 20, right?
Yeah.
We've talked before, like I know you want to invest. And this is the other thing. Jay did a post about this earlier today. Well, he commented on one of my posts about just getting around other people that are kind of doing this stuff. And I've said this to you, David, a few times. I'm like, and we talked about another one of your friends who wants to invest too, but he's not in the inner circle. He's not joining the company. And it's just like, how can you couldn't have ever gotten that experience on your own.
No,
You
definitely not.
obviously, like, it's huge that you did a lot of the legwork, but how do you get these experiences without being around other people that are kind of doing it? And how much is that worth? Right. And it kills me because obviously we recruit agents and, we have a lot of agents who are good fits for our company. They want to learn how to invest in real estate, but then they kind of trip up over the pennies of like what brokerage they're at.
Right.
And again, we just talked about a deal that you helped to increase the net worth of 2 people by $1 million. But what's going to happen at some point is that's going to be you. Right. And I know you have aspirations to do that, and you'll end up doing it because you've seen it. Right. I mean, like before you did this deal, like, did you think a deal like this could happen or no?
No, so the reason why I was so like persistent is because I actually listened to like a Bigger Pockets podcast about a younger guy doing seller financing.
Mhm.
And this is when I just got completely crazy about seller financing because I didn't even know that was a thing. Being able
Yeah.
to negotiate absolutely everything in terms of price, payments, all that stuff. And I knew he didn't have a mortgage. So I was hungry after him.
That's it.
Um,
You were just hungry.
I was like, I want to do my first seller financing deal. And then he didn't commit, he didn't want to do it. And then that's
Yeah.
why I brought Tyler along.
Yeah.
Can I
this,
can I
go
just say something here? Like, none of us are really that special, but what we do is we get together, we show up, and I mean, anyone could do this. It's just the mindset.
yeah.
Like,
But that's
it,
why
it,
I think the mindset part is it's so important to be around other people that are doing it.
absolutely.
Because literally, like David, you could read on Bigger Pockets. Everything sounds good on Bigger Pockets. Everything in my podcast sounds good. Every book sounds good. There's a huge difference between reading. It's like reading about how to ride a bike. Okay, yeah, you could read about how to ride a bike, but then you get on the bike. What happens? You fall off. It's the
Right.
same thing, right? But if you're not doing the deal yourself, you can be a part of doing the deal by being around other people that are doing the stuff. And again, like the age thing is just, you're in a position. I mean, the crazy thing about having both of you on is Tyler's 26. So let's not sleep on the fact that Tyler is really freaking young, but he looks like an old man compared to you, right? So there's, again, for anybody at any age, it's like you can be a part of doing these things. And, every single person on this call, actually, David, Jay, Tyler, you guys were all a large part of other people's investing deals before you started like ramping up on your own.
And
So
if I could say one thing on top of what David said. So this seller, when we met with him, so I'm not going to say the only reason, but a huge portion on why he went with us when he was in other people's CRMs. I think he was in Jason's because to get in Jason's CRM with a mailer, he has to reach out. So this seller reached out to him.
Yeah.
But he saw himself, this guy has a lot of properties and he was very old and his kids didn't want the properties. They wanted nothing to do with it. He saw himself through us because we were young.
Yep.
So his whole life, he wanted to build this portfolio and pass it down to his kids. It just so happens when he went to go pass it down, the kids don't want it. So that was another big reason why we were able to close it, was because we kept laying on the fact that like we knew his kids didn't want it and we were young and we wanted to do exactly what he's done.
Yep.
And he appreciated that and he loved it. And it's almost like we made a friend more than a sale on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
and that's just like another kind of common theme about like how to get some of these, deals closed that again could be a whole nother session in and of itself. Well, awesome. We did have one other question that came in. Somebody said, sorry if you covered this, joined late. Why not a fan of the MLS? So it's really pretty simple. Really, really simple. These guys increased their net worth, $1 million through these deals. Tyler, what do you think would have happened if those units were on the MLS?
Well, you had a 6-family on the MLS. But
well, what do you think would have happened? Do you think you would have gotten it for the same price and would have been able to
no,
host
it would have got a lot of attention. It would have put a lot of opinions in the seller's head, and I would have never been able to get it for the price I needed to.
Yeah.
Would have gone retail price.
You wouldn't have been able to wholesale it.
That's another thing.
Yeah, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's as simple as it wouldn't have happened. And that's a fact. I mean, the best way to kind of think about it, I created this analogy like years ago, but it's like if you're trying to, fish, if you're trying to go fish and catch a fish, right? The MLS, you've got 100 other people trying to catch one fish in a pond. There's one fish in the pond. You got 100 other people trying to catch it. What are your odds you're going to catch the fish if 100 people are trying to catch the same fish? That's the MLS. Off market is you're in a pond, there's 10 fish, and there's maybe 1 or 2 people fishing in it, right? I mean, so it's just that, like, I mean, I get into like disagreements with people on the MLS all the time because somebody somewhere at some day will tell me about this great deal they got on the MLS. And I go, maybe you did. And I'm not saying that you can't. The degree of difficulty is 1,000 times harder, to the point where, like I said earlier, when somebody sends me a deal on the MLS, I get mad because it's a waste of my time, because I'll have to look at 10,000 deals on the MLS to get one deal versus like 10 deals off market to get one deal. To me, it's like you've got to figure out a way to create a funnel of getting appointments off market. And we talked about mailing. Mailing's one way to do it. You can do so many different things though: door knocking, cold calling, texting, agent referrals. Like, the list goes on. And we have a lot of sessions where we talk about how to get off market deals. And then somebody else asked about probate. Do you get deals on probate? Everybody has different strategies. Like, do either of you guys target probates?
Absolutely. And we get deals on probate. We get deals from all different sources, and they oftentimes end with D. But the really important thing to understand here is, within this deal, everyone is happy.
Yes.
They love us. Like, and you would say, I used to be in another business where people would come in and get the best deals in the world, and other people would pay all the money, and those people were the happiest. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not always about money for everyone. So on the seller side, I think they were both really happy. We made friends. We still talk. I mean, they still call us, and we were all friends before this. And I think it's so much more fun to do deals with your friends. I mean, making money and doing deals and doing business, great. That's part of life. But when you can do it with your friends and everyone can be happy, and hopefully, Tyler, when you get back at some point, we can get together and celebrate. And I mean,
Tyler, by the time Tyler
I'm
gets
celebrating now.
Yeah,
I know, but
But by the time he gets back, he's going to be miserable again. So,
Oh no. Here we go.
yeah, he's gonna find something else to complain about. So, yeah,
on to the next one. But I mean, this one was one for the books, and it's just amazing what you can do with the power of proximity. And I mean, Tom, honestly, thank you. I can't thank you enough for putting this all together, because I know this isn't something that everyone would have wanted to do originally when you went out to do this. And I think you're the one that pushed and persisted to grow this brokerage, this type of a brokerage.
But here's the thing, right? Let me just give you another example. And this is the part where, like, people worry about their competition. And yeah, maybe in this example, like, maybe one of those deals could have been mine, right? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. So I'm sitting, I'm sitting in the office yesterday, and Jay walks by me. I'm in the conference room, and I've got a guy, because my number one focus right now for my investing is building apartment buildings. And in order to do that, I need to raise capital. So I've had to switch gears a little bit, going into, capital raising mode. So I'm sitting in the office, and Jay walks by, and I'm in the office with one of his friends, one of his clients. Actually, somebody he's related to, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. And I did some great business with him, and I helped him expand his portfolio from 1-3 family in Boston to a portfolio out down in Fall River, where he's made a massive equity shift, and then because of that, he has money. He has to invest.
Yeah. So we leave that meeting, me and, somebody that is a part of, Jay's family through marriage. And, he's cutting me a check to invest in one of my apartment deals. So it really, you can say, again, maybe I would have had one of those other deals, but then I wouldn't have had that, So it's like, I really do think it all kind of works together. And I know, like, on a case by case situation, maybe I lose here or there, maybe, but then I win more in other areas, and the net is winning. The net is winning. And like you said, I know you guys know I'm not like a big fun person, but it is more fun for me to build a business with people that I like and to do deals with people that I like. It is more fun. This is my fun. This is my like going out on a Friday night type of thing, because I just love doing this stuff. So, if I can work with people and do deals with them, and I've done, so many different deals with so many different people, and even, Jay, you're invested in one of the apartments, like Mike's
Yep.
invested in one of the apartments, like, so it all kind of works together. And, I'm not keeping score on who's ahead or who's behind, but, it's all worked out for me, and I really can't kind of complain about too much. So, but,
Just getting the right people together, and it's just been really because, by the way, I've been in this business for like 20 something years, and I was doing it all wrong. I was doing well, don't get me wrong, but until we really partnered up and got together, things really just went on rocket fire.
but that's also not to mention, like, I'm in several mastermind groups, you're in a mastermind group. We go out, like you fly out, you network with top investors. I do the same thing. When we find something that works, we bring it back into the company, and we talk about it, and I'm always looking for better ways to do things. And when I find a better way to do something, I want to share it, not necessarily honestly to help people, but because I'm excited about it. Like, it's just on my mind. It's like, oh shoot, I found a better way to generate a lead or follow up with a lead, or this is the system I'm using. And I just like talking about it, because again, it's like, my version of like playing a video game. That's what it feels like. It's like the adult version of playing a video game, and you're always trying to build and build, and at some point you're in a good spot. But all right, guys. Well, I think we kind of we answered all the questions that came in. We did a good job, I think, of highlighting the deal. I want to thank you guys for jumping on. I know you're busy. Tyler's in Miami, so he's kind of not busy, and David just made his first official appearance on social media, so we're doing pretty good. But hopefully we'll have another one of these. We'll see what happens. See if you guys can work together again.
It's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. It's just a matter of time.
It's a matter of time. We'll have to bring you guys back on. Maybe it'll be David selling something to Tyler. That would be amazing. All right, guys.
Not necessarily just us, but like other people that are associated within the brokerage. There's gonna be some huge stories, and we're just getting started, and that's the fun thing about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good, like, I'm looking at it like this. I'm 40 now, and the agent investor thing, like, we've always been doing it, but I'm scaling that now. So there's going to be a multiplier effect on the number of stories we have. And it's not even just going to be local stories. There are people, I'm looking through the names of the people who are commenting. They're from all over the country. So there's going to be stories all over the country from this stuff. Make sure, like, if you guys don't come, make sure if you have the opportunity to come to our events in person, even if you're flying out. We had a bunch of people fly in the last time. Make the commitment. It's 2 days. We always do 2 days. I know getting on a plane isn't necessarily fun, especially coming to Boston. If you're coming from a warm area, isn't fun, but you'll leave with more than you came in. And if for whatever reason you can't jump, if you can't get to one of the events, the easiest way to shortcut all this is to inquire about being an inner circle member. And you can do that by jumping on a call with me directly. All that you have to do is go to www.agentinvestorinnercircle.com and just sign up, and we can chat. I try to make them kind of like strategy sessions when somebody jumps on an inner circle call, meaning like we basically have a free, consultative conversation. And then if you're interested in joining, you join. If not, that's okay. But that's like the easiest shortcut, is just to get in the inner circle. And there's plenty of benefits and stuff like that I'm not going to mention, because that's not what this is about today. But if you heard these stories today and you want to have one of your own stories, easiest way to do it, like Jay said, is just proximity, www.agentinvestorinnercircle.com, and we'll talk more. So, but I want to thank these two guys for jumping on. We kept everyone's attention. I mean, we had 30 plus people on the whole time, and obviously we're going to have a lot more listeners once the podcast, gets promoted. So thank you again, guys, for hopping on.
Appreciate it. Have a good one. See you
All
soon.
right. Bye.